Hello everyone, it's Marcy, and I am going to start working on a new file folder folio using Kara Brandon's Blushing Blooms digital kit. So I'm just going to jump right in while I get started. In case you haven't noticed, I'm kind of stuck on these file folder folios. I'm absolutely loving them. And I'm trying to make them a little more interactive as I go along. So this one I am going to make, basically I'm going to make a 5x7 journal. So I'm going to cut my file folder down to 7 inches. I had to stop and think and be sure that is what I wanted to do. Okay. And then, how wide is this? That'll be perfect. Then I'm going to take this leftover piece and I want part of it, excuse me, also cut. I just need one flap off of it. Cut to 7 inches. Okay. So that will get me started. Those two pieces will get me started. Then pull out my scoreboard. And I'm going to start over here. This time I'm going to make my spine 1 inch wide. So I'm going to score at the 1 inch mark. And then I'm going to come down and score at 6 inches. And then again at 6.5 inches. So my spine is wider, as are my little spines. Okay, then I'm going to flip it around. And this side will only need to be scored at 5 inches and 5.5 inches. Okay, so got that done. And I've still got my little leftover piece here that I will be using a little later. So, I'm going to get all of these, all of my score marks, use my bone folder on all my score marks to be sure I've got good creases. All right. So now we've got a nice 5x7 base to start with. Now, eventually, I'm not going to do it yet, but because this flap is so short, eventually I will be adding this right here to create a little pocket. But I'm not going to, and to lengthen this side. But I'm not going to do that just yet. And I don't know if I will want it to go this way or this way. But I can decide that later. So now, just like on my last one, I'm going to use my fabric tape, but I'm only going to use it on the inside this time. So put my fabric tape to reinforce my spine areas. And I'm going to do that on this spine, and this spine, and then I'm going to go ahead and ink those up, and then I will come back. Okay, so I got all my fabric tape put down on my inside spines, and I went ahead and inked it up using worn lipstick, and then I inked around all the edges of the file folder on the inside and outside, just to disguise where any file folder may show. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to cover the outside with some fabric. And I've got this really pretty Susan Winget fabric that I'm going to use. And the way I'm going to do it is, pull that up a hair shade. I've got it cut a little bigger than my folder. So I'm going to be sure I've got enough overhang on all the edges. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to do this very section by section. I'm going to start with my spine, my big spine. And I'm going to put some Fabri-Tac down. To just outside my spine. Lay my fabric down. And smooth it all out. Don't want to pull it too tight, but want it smoothed out. And then I will go in, be sure there's enough give for my spines to fold. Use my bone folder, recrease my spines. Like that. And then I will be ready to move on to my next section. So then I would glue from here all the way over to where this spine is, lay that down, and I'm going to do that for the entire thing. I just want to give this another minute or two to dry. So do that for the entire cover, all the way over, little by little, and then I will cut away my excess. And if you don't want your edges to continue fraying, you can use a little bit of glue to put along the edges, or I've got some fray check that I probably will use on mine. Okay, I got my outside fabric cover all glued down. And then I went in, I had printed some of Kara's blushing blooms onto some fabric. I had shrunk it down and put those as panels on my front and back covers. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to my 1-inch spine, and I'm going to do my spine a little different than I had done before. And this is something I saw Gail Augustinelli do some time ago on her channel. I don't know that I'm doing it exactly the same way, but I did this a bit ago on another one that I made. I'm trying to look and see. I had marked this somewhere. Guess we'll just mark it again. I'm marking my spine at 1/2 inch, just so I've got a guide as to where I want that to go. Okay, and this is about 1 inch, between 1.5 inches and 1 3/4 inches. And what I'm going to do is take my little fabric piece and I'm going to, this will be sewn, so I just want to tack it down to hold it for now. So I'm going to put some glue right there, and the 1/2 inch does not have to be precise. And this will be used in place of my Midori binding, but it looks really pretty when it's done. Okay, so now I can cut off some excess, and then I'm going to glue hang on a second. Let me, okay. I'm going to glue down this other side, but I don't want it so tight. I'm going to want to be able to get, I'll be using like seam binding. Probably actually some of this for the journal part to have it in, but still removable. So I'm going to want to be sure I leave enough room on my spine for my binding to get through. So I don't want it super loose, but I don't want it cinched down either. So the best way I have found to do this is to go ahead and fold it over. Okay, now I need to trim that a little more. Okay, because it can be rather taut when everything's closed up, but then when you open it, that'll loosen it up so you can get your ribbon or seam binding or whatever it is you want to use through there. So now I'm going to put a little glue on this side. Sorry if I've got this out of frame. I needed to be able to see it. Okay. And just have that down enough to hold it until I get it to the sewing machine. So nothing fancy there. But it will be, like I said, kind of neat once I get everything in. Okay. Then I've got this other piece. I'm going to go ahead and get it cut before I start. And hopefully I haven't cut it too short. Nope, in fact I need to take a little more off. All right. So again, there's my mark. Okay. So put a little glue here. Oop. Ah, stuck my finger right in the glue and now the fabric wants to stick to my finger. Okay. And now close it up. And put a little glue here. All right. So then once that dries, what I'm going to do is take it over to my sewing machine and I will stitch here, 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 and here. But you can hopefully see when I've got the journal open now, I do have a little room in there so that I can slip my binding where I used elastic last time, this time I'll be using seam binding and I can just slide it right through there. Okay. So while that's drying, I'm also going to be doing my closures differently this time. And I need I'm going to mark 1/2 inch. Here's my inside 1/2 inch spine. There it is there, and I'm marking 1/2 inch over. And then I'm going to go back and find my center, which I could have done it the other way. Put a big dot there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. We'll go ahead and find the center first. And since my journal is 7 inches, center would be 3.5. And 1/2 inch. So we're going to mark here. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull out my crocodile and try to get holes punched. Okay. And sometimes the crocodile doesn't want to let go of the fabric piece, so you may need to clean your holes out a little bit. All right. And set that back. And now I'm going to I did that right. I'm going to set little eyelets in my holes. And I'm just using 1/8 inch eyelets for mine. You can use whatever eyelet suits you best. Okay, that got it. Had to stand up to do that. And let's put an eyelet in here. And see if we can get this one set. All right, so my eyelets are set. So now I've got eyelet on my front cover and an eyelet on my back cover. My inside flaps are not affected at all. Okay, so now I'm going to take whatever I'm using as my closure, and again I'm using this seam binding, and I'm going to attempt to feed it through. Let's grab a little pokey tool to help me. Well, it only helps if the fabric there we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull that most of the way through, but I'm going to leave a tail. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this side. Feed another piece through. And pull it most of the way, but leaving a tail. Okay, now I'm going to use Fabri-Tac and glue the tails on the inside, glue those down. Okay, once that all dries, then I have my closure already ready to go. I'm sure it'll need to be trimmed when I'm done, but it's in there and ready to go. And then when I lay down my background papers, all of that will be covered up, as will the sewing there. So, I think this was the extra piece I had cut. I'm not going to put it in yet. because I'll want to cover this with background paper first. And I'm sure I will round the corners and stuff. But then I will turn that into a pocket. Just like that. But that is pretty much, I may add an embellishment or, oh, that's the back cover. I may add an embellishment or two to the front cover. But in essence, that is the cover for my new file folder folio. And now I'm ready to cover my inside pieces along with this. And I'd had that wrong. That will be going there. Okay, that's the front. That will be going like that. That's how it will be. So, now, just like last time, I'll cover everything with my backing papers, including this. And then I can glue this down. And then I will go and sew around, and then I'll be ready to start laying everything out. So anyway, that is the cover for my file folder folio. So I hope this helps or gives you some ideas. This is just going to be a slightly different way of doing it. And until next time, everyone, please be safe, stay healthy, happy crafting, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.